At my husband's funeral, my son's wife whispered, "You'll have to move now. This house is too big for just you." I still hadn't scattered his ashes. My son just held her hand. That night, I slept in my car outside their house. In the morning, I made a single transaction that would change every comfort they ever knew. My husband's funeral was on a cold Friday in February. The kind of cold that cuts through your coat and sticks to your bones. I remember the way the wind blew through the cemetery, like it was trying to shove us all away. I stood beside his casket, holding onto the edge like it was the last real thing in my life. People were all around me. Family I hadn't seen in years. Church ladies with tuna casseroles. Neighbors with sad smiles. But all I could focus on was my son's wife, Natalie. She wore a black dress that looked more like a cocktail outfit than something for mourning. She didn't cry. Not once. She stood next to Zachary, my son, holding his hand like she owned him. When the service ended, and everyone was slowly walking to their cars, she leaned in close to me. I thought she was going to say something kind. Something comforting. But instead, she said it, right there beside the casket. "You'll have to move now. This house is too big for just you." Just like that. No emotion. No hesitation. I felt like the wind had knocked the air out of my lungs. I couldn't speak. I looked at her, trying to understand if this was some sort of twisted joke. But she was already turning away, fingers laced with my son's. He didn't even glance at me. Didn't say a word. I didn't cry then. I just stood there, stunned, while the funeral staff began to lower Michael into the ground. My husband. My partner. 37 years of marriage. And she was already planning to shove me out of the home we built. Later that night, after the guests had gone and the house was quiet again, I looked around. Every wall held a memory. The table where Michael used to sit with the bills spread out, drinking weak coffee. The recliner where he fell asleep watching reruns of Matlock. The hallway where Zachary took his first steps. I couldn't stay there. I packed an overnight bag, grabbed my purse, and drove to Zachary's house on the west side of Knoxville. I didn't call first. I didn't think I had to. I figured he'd be worried about me. Or at least willing to make space for his grieving mother. I rang the doorbell. Nothing. Waited. Rang again. I saw the flicker of a light in an upstairs window. Then nothing. Porch light came on around midnight. I sat in my car, waiting, hoping he'd come out. No one did. They knew I was there. I stayed in my car the whole night. It was cold, and I didn't have a blanket. I wrapped my coat around my legs and tried to fall asleep in the front seat, parked at the curb like some stranger. In the morning, I drove back home. I walked through the front door, dropped my bag, and stood in the kitchen. The house was quiet. Too quiet. I poured myself a cup of coffee, sat at the table, and stared at the fridge covered in old pictures, Michael grilling in the backyard, Zachary in his baseball uniform, baby pictures of my grandson Caleb. I opened my laptop and logged into our joint account. Michael left everything to me. He made sure I'd be taken care of. The pension, the life insurance, the 401k rollover. It was a good chunk of money, almost $700,000 in total. And they thought I was going to give it all up. Move out of my home like some forgotten old widow. I moved all of it into a trust account that only I controlled. Then I called our lawyer, the same one who helped us with our estate plan after Michael's first heart attack. "I want to update my will," I said. "Of course. What do you need changed?" "Remove Zachary from the house." "From everything. Unless I say otherwise." He paused. "Are you sure? That's your son." "No," I said. "He's married to her now. That's where his loyalty lies." We scheduled the appointment. Then I called a realtor and listed the house. Within 3 days, I had multiple offers. I took the cleanest one. Full cash. No inspection. 10-day close. I didn't tell Zachary. He found out when the realtor put a sign in the front yard. He called me the same day. "Mom, what the hell are you doing?" "Moving," I said. "Why didn't you tell me?" "You didn't tell me I wasn't welcome anymore." "I didn't say that." "She did. And you let her." There was a long silence. I could hear Natalie's voice in the background asking who he was talking to. I hung up. That night, I sat in the backyard with Michael's ashes and a glass of bourbon. I poured one for him too. We used to sit out there in the evenings, listening to the cicadas, talking about nothing. I cried until I couldn't breathe. Then I walked to the lilac bushes we planted 20 years ago and scattered his ashes there. "I'm sorry, Michael," I whispered. "I should have seen this coming." I went inside and started packing. I wasn't just leaving the house. I was taking back everything they thought they could quietly take from me. The realtor called the day before closing to confirm the movers. I told her I'd handle it myself. I didn't want anyone else touching my things. Every picture frame, every dish, every sweater Michael bought me over the years, I wrapped them all myself. I worked late into the night. The house felt hollow, like it already knew I was leaving. On the morning of the move, Zachary showed up. I heard the knock around 9 a.m. I didn't answer at first. He knocked again, louder this time. When I opened the door, he looked tired. Angry. He didn't say hi. "Why didn't you tell me you were serious about selling the house?" I stepped aside and let him in. He didn't sit. "I told you," I said. "You just weren't listening. You're punishing me." "No," I said. "I'm making sure I don't end up depending on people who only see me as a burden." He paced. "You're blowing this up over one comment Natalie made. You can't just cut us out like this." I stopped wrapping a box and looked at him. "She said it next to your father's casket. And you said nothing." "Not one word. Do you know how small that made me feel?" He rubbed his face. "She didn't mean it that way." "But she did," I said. "She meant every word." Then came the twist I wasn't ready for. "She wants another baby," he said. I blinked. "Excuse me?" "Natalie's pregnant again. We were going to ask if you'd consider selling the house and maybe giving us part of the money to put toward a bigger place." My mouth went dry. I felt like the floor dropped out from under me. "You were going to ask me to sell my home, after your father died, to fund your new house with the woman who told me to get out before his ashes were even scattered?" He didn't respond. I walked over to the kitchen table, opened my file folder, and pulled out a sealed envelope. "Here," I said. "You can give this to her." "What is it?" "My updated will. You're no longer a beneficiary. You can still visit me. But nothing is automatic anymore. You have to earn it back." He didn't take the envelope. "I can't believe you do this," he muttered. "I can't believe you let her speak for both of you," I said. "And that you stood by while she treated me like an afterthought." He left without another word. That night, I stayed at a motel near the new condo I bought in Murfreesboro. A small 2-bedroom, just for me. It wasn't fancy, but it had a little garden and enough space for peace. 2 days later, Natalie called. First time she'd ever called me directly. I let it go to voicemail. Her message: "You don't get to cut off your own family. Zachary is heartbroken. You're choosing money over blood. And when you're old and alone, don't come crying to us." She hung up. I stared at my phone for a long time. Then I played it again, and saved it. 2 weeks passed. I settled into the condo in Murfreesboro. It was quiet, but in a good way. I joined a small community garden, went on walks, started sleeping through the night again. I was healing. Then, a letter came. No return address, but I knew the handwriting right away. Zachary's. Inside was a folded note and a photocopy of something. The note said, "Mom, I know you're angry. But there's something I need you to see. I didn't know she did this until last week. I'm sorry. Please call me when you can." I opened the photocopy. It was an email. From Natalie. Dated 6 weeks before Michael's funeral. The subject line, "Should we ask her to move out after he dies?" I read every word. Natalie had been planning it. Planning my eviction before my husband even passed. She wrote things like, "She can't stay in that big house forever. It's time we use that space for our family. If Mike passes, I'll bring it up at the funeral. We can say it's about her well-being, but it'll open the door. She's not going to live another 30 years. It's not fair she gets everything." Zachary's response wasn't there. But the message was clear, she was behind all of it. The timing, the push, the idea that I didn't need my own home anymore. She wanted me out of the picture for good. I sat there in silence. The paper shook in my hands. Not from fear, just rage. This wasn't just about a misunderstanding anymore. She had planned to push me aside before Michael's body was even cold. I didn't call Zachary back. Instead, I called the lawyer. "I want to revise my trust," I told him. "And I want to set up something very specific. I didn't just want them out of the will. I wanted to make sure Natalie never saw a single penny, even if Zachary eventually made things right. I drafted an amendment. Zachary would only be reinstated under strict conditions. A full divorce. Public apology. Family therapy sessions, paid by him. If not, the entire trust would go to a series of scholarships in Michael's name, for single mothers over 40 trying to go back to school." A week after filing the paperwork, I got another call. This time from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer. It was Natalie. Her voice was sharper this time. Less fake sweetness. She got right to the point. "You're trying to ruin us," she hissed. "No," I said. "You did that on your own. You made Zachary cry." His blood pressure went up. He missed work. "The stress is killing him." I stayed silent. "I should have pushed harder," she said. "I should have made him take power of attorney when Mike first went into the hospital." "You're selfish. You don't deserve that money." And there it was. The truth. She never cared about Michael. Or me. Or family. She saw a pile of money and thought it was hers. I hung up. Later that day, I sent Zachary a copy of the updated trust terms. No message. Just the facts. And then I got ready for what would come next. Because I knew Natalie wasn't going to let go without a fight. 2 weeks later, I got a letter from an attorney in Nashville. Natalie had hired a lawyer. She was threatening to contest Michael's will, claiming verbal promises and emotional distress gave her some kind of right to part of the estate. She called it a moral claim. It was all a bluff. There was no case. But it meant one thing, she was panicking. I called my own lawyer and gave him the green light. We sent a cease and desist. Filed a motion to block any challenge. And we attached the email she wrote. The one where she talked about kicking me out of my home before Michael had even died. Her own words. Her own plan. Natalie didn't know I had it yet. The next day, Zachary showed up at my condo unannounced. He looked worn down. Lost. "Mom," he said, barely above a whisper. "Can I come in?" I let him in. We sat at the little table in my kitchen. He looked around like he was in someone else's house, like he didn't know who I was anymore. And maybe he didn't. He pulled out a folder and slid it across the table. "I'm filing for divorce." I didn't say anything. Just looked at him. I didn't know she wrote that email. I swear. I saw it on her old laptop when I was trying to fix the printer. I thought we were struggling, but I never imagined she was planning all that." He paused. "She's furious. Said I betrayed her. She's threatening to take Caleb and disappear." I raised an eyebrow. "And are you afraid she will?" He nodded. "Yeah." I opened my cabinet and pulled out a second folder. I'd had it ready for weeks. Inside were copies of the trust amendment, the scholarship documents, and a checkbook linked to a separate account, one I'd created just for him. "I'm not here to reward you," I said. "But Caleb is my grandson. And he didn't do anything wrong." Zachary's eyes welled up. "I'll pay for a custody lawyer. A good one. Full custody. I already checked. Natalie's got 2 old citations for leaving him home alone when he was still a baby." His head dropped into his hands. "I didn't know. God, I didn't know any of this." "She manipulated you," I said. "But you let her." He looked up, tears falling now. "What do I do?" "You fix it. You protect your son. You undo what she did. Not for me. For yourself. For Caleb." The court case didn't last long. Zachary's lawyer ripped through Natalie's past. Her emails. Her treatment of me. The citations. Even a few nasty voicemails she'd left me, things she didn't think anyone had saved. She looked smug on the first day in court. She wasn't smiling by day 3. By the end of the hearing, she'd been stripped of primary custody. Zachary got full legal and physical custody of Caleb. Natalie was given limited visitation, supervised only once every other weekend. Her lawyer quit mid-case. She had a meltdown in the hallway. Screamed that I had turned her own family against her. I walked right past her that day. Didn't even look at her. I rewrote the trust again, after the divorce was finalized. I left everything to Zachary, with one rule. If he ever gave Natalie 1 cent, even a gift card, the trust would dissolve and the money would go to the scholarship fund. I had it notarized. Signed. Locked. Zachary moved in next door to my condo, in a small rental. He and Caleb came over every Sunday for lunch. At first it was quiet. Awkward. But eventually, it felt like family again. One night, Zachary looked at me across the table. "You didn't have to help me," he said. "I didn't," I replied. "I helped your son." He nodded. Natalie, from what I hear, moved to a studio apartment in Clarksville. She sells jewelry online now. Her influencer account crashed after someone posted the court transcript and the email she wrote about me. Word got around. Sponsors dropped her. People stopped buying. Her face was everywhere. The woman who tried to kick her dying father-in-law's widow out for cash. Sometimes karma doesn't hit like thunder. Sometimes it comes in the form of an empty inbox, silence, and no one answering your calls. Michael's ashes are still in that lilac bush. Every spring, they bloom deep purple. Zachary planted a second one in front of his rental, just like it. I asked him why. He said, "So Caleb will always know where he came from." I'm not sure I've forgiven everything yet. But I'm not bitter anymore. And that, to me, is the sweetest revenge of all.